Good evening, everyone. My name is Jumai Lugun, and this is the sixth episode of the Intentional Living series. Welcome to the Intentional Living series. The Intentional Living series is a bi-weekly show where we bring experts from different fields to discuss topics that affect our general well-being and our skin health. Today, we have Kemi Lewis of the KLS Naturals with us. We'll be talking about hair and skin health and what they have in common. Um, our guest is having some challenges, some technical challenges joining us. And as soon as she joins, we'll bring her live on the stream. So thank you for joining and welcome once again. The idea to start Intentional Living series came to me when I started seeing a lot of clients with different skin conditions come into our clinic. And I found out that most times the skin condition is not necessarily out of what they are doing or the lifestyle. Is also has everything to do with different things that we can holistically look at and challenge to be able to have a better skin. On the Intentional Living series, we have brought experts that talk to us about our mental health and our skin health. We have also brought experts that discuss how parenting effectively and peacefully can impact our skin health. We've spoken to, welcome, Kemi is here now, so it's so nice to have Kemi. Welcome. I'll bring Kemi up shortly. So we have brought different experts to talk about different things per time. Last week, it had been Bo of So Fresh talk to us about the impact of building a dream team and its effects on our self-care. So today, again, we have Kemi, and I am going to be bringing Kemi home to you guys now. Hello, Kemi. I'm going to be bringing you up right now.
Fabulous.
Hi, Kemi.
Hi, Jemai. How are you?
Okay, I can't see you here. We can't see you. Is your camera on?
Everything is on. I can't see me.
I can see you from the back end too. Okay. Hey! I see your beautiful face.
Hi.
Hi, Kemi.
Hi,
It's
how are
nice
you?
to see your pretty face.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
thank you for coming to honor us on the show today. I
Yeah.
am so psyched about this topic. So I was just going to read your bio, but I think I love to read bios when people are there so that I can read the expression on their faces and see the pride in what they have achieved. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and read Kemi's impressive bio.
Wow.
So, my dearest Kemi Lewis is a lawyer and chartered secretary turned natural hair stylist and entrepreneur. In response to the growing need for skilled and knowledgeable professionals to cater to an expanding natural hair community in Lagos. She pioneered the first natural hair salon, KLS Natural Beauty Bar in August 2013. Wow. KLS will be 10 years next year, right?
9 years next year. We just
9
turned
years next year. Oh, yeah. Which has gone on to become a natural hair business, training stylists, retailing products, and offering natural hair bridal services in addition to regular salon services. She holds forth as the creative director, overseeing business development, strategy, training, and core operations. Under Kemi's management, the brand has grown from a single location with a staff strength of 2 to become a leading beauty brand with 3 locations in Lagos, in the Lagos metropolis and a current staff strength of 35. You know, you're a power woman, you know that. The queen of natural hair updo, as she is fondly called, Kemi's passion for changing the natural hair narrative has seen her teaching and training over 200 stylists in the art of caring for and styling natural hair. She works as an educator with Design Essentials Nigeria, and in 2018, she founded KLS Natural Hair Academy. This online training school teaches natural hair maintenance and growth, creative natural hair styling, and structure for a successive salon business. The online school has trained stylists worldwide, including South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, France, the United Kingdom, the USA, Israel, and Canada. Kemi is committed to service and has been recognized several times for her work in the natural hair industry. At the Africa Hair Summit in 2018, she received recognition as a voice in the natural hair industry. She also has a recipient of the Changing Mindset Award for Creativity, Innovation and Excellence, sponsored by the Joy City Empowerment Foundation 2017. I was named one of the leading ladies Africa top 100 most inspiring ladies in Nigeria for 2018. Kemi is a leading voice in innovation across the beauty and self-care industry. Let's welcome the queen of natural updo. Should I stand up for that? Oh, welcome back. Welcome, Kemi. This particular topic was I've been thinking about it since lockdown last year, because last year I started paying intentional attention to my natural hair. It all started with my girls. I remember in 2018, I ran to you that I needed some hair care product for the girls, right? Can you remember?
I remember.
Yeah, and I bought some product from you. Prior to that, my hair was all permed, so I didn't have any. I would just go to the normal salon and I would just relax my hair monthly, and that's it. But during the lockdown, of course, we all can't go out. So I turned to a natural hair carrier to join the natural hair gang. So within that period, as soon as the lockdown was over, as soon as they eased the lockdown a bit, I think in June, we had to go out to buy things to take care of the girls' hair. And when I got there, I realized that everything that they are giving to me is related to what is generally used to take care of the skin too. So I got a shampoo, I got a co-wash, I got a conditioner, I got a clay mask. They told me about some oils and some serums, and then they gave me different things. And as I was sitting down to take care of their hair, I pieced it all together like, oh, this shampoo is just like a face wash, you know. The core wash can be a toner because, you know, and then the conditioner can be probably your exfoliator, and then the mask can be the mask generally, and then they have the corrective products in the serum. So that's now started making me to look at hair differently, like, okay, what is about hair and the skin that is related? Then got so good. I had a client that came into the clinic and she has dandruff on her hair, right? And I was like, dandruff. And then she has a lot of acne on her skin too. So I started doing research on skin health and the hair health. So, and yes, and I have been interested about that ever since. So thank you so much, Kemi, for coming. And I just want you to tell us, what hair, as an hair care professional, what does hair health means to you? Because I hear you talk about it a lot, maybe in your videos and all. Keep a healthy hair. What does it mean to you? What does hair health means generally? Is it the way skin health means to us too?
I mean, thank you very much for the introduction and reading out my bio and all of. Thank you for having me on to your show. In terms of hair health, so for me, what hair health means to me really is doing the things that you need to do to ensure that your hair is in the state that it should be in. And that is saying something very short. That's me just trying to compress everything into a short sentence as possible. Hair health really, I mean, because the hair itself, the hair grows out of our scalp, and our scalp really is a continuation of the skin on our body. If you think, look at it that way, that essentially is what it is, because it just continues, like that. Just like, it has a whole lot more going on than what we have on the rest of our body. So hair health really is just ensuring that your hair and your scalp are clean. Number one, that your hair has a balance of moisture and protein as it should. And I say moisture and protein because, particularly with natural hair, natural hair tends to be dry because of many different factors. One of the factors being the way the natural hair is shaped. It's not straight like our Caucasian counterparts. So it means that the sebum that our scalp naturally produces cannot travel down very easily each strand, because our own strands are like this. So instead of, compared to our Caucasian counterparts that have straight hair, where the oil can very easily just travel down, moisturizing each strand of hair, because our own hair is bent, it has different bends, and corners. If the oil wants to come down, it may come down like this, but it will not be able to go around the first bend and the other bends, because of the curly nature of our hair. So our hair tends to be dry. That's number one. Number two, our hair also tends to be dry because of the weather that we find ourselves in, and all of that. So you have to make a deliberate attempt or efforts to make sure that you are infusing moisture into the hair. Then protein, because hair is actually made up of protein, to put it shortly, a chain of amino acids. So it just means that over time, the more you are touching your hair, the more you are combing the hair, the more you blow dry it, the more you manipulate it, you are degrading the natural protein that the hair is made up from. So over time, you also need to, use masks, sort of like, the way you use things for your skin to plump it up, to rehydrate, and just, like your hyaluronic acids and stuff like that, just to make sure that the hair, whatever has been degraded from the hair, you're putting it back in. So you need to ensure that, first of all, your hair and your scalp are clean. Then you're making sure that your hair has that balance of moisture so that it's not too dry, and protein so that it's not too weak. And then just put it in a style that, you don't always have to constantly manipulate it, and, just touch it all, because the more you manipulate and the more you touch, the more breakage and the more frizzy your hair, will get. And then just get regular trims, because our hair, will get frayed at the ends. And if you don't get regular trims, what would happen is those split ends that you have on the end, they may then start, so you may have like really small split ends here, but if you don't trim it on time, it will start to travel up the whole hair shaft. So when, instead of getting a small trim here, you then end up getting a huge haircut. So those are the things that essentially give you healthy hair. Just taking care of the hair and feeding it what it needs and giving it what it needs, so that it will also be nice to you. And of course, not doing tight hairstyles that will pull all your edges, and then at the end of the day, you have no edges, because that's also a huge thing with particularly women of color, because of the sort of styles we tend to do. So for me, all those components make up healthy hair. And I hope that's and I hope I haven't strayed too far from the question that you asked.
Oh, you're just perfect, Kenny. Thank
Okay.
you. So
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've always wanted to understand why a palmed hair cannot be a healthy hair. Like, is it possible for us to have a palmed hair and it's still healthy, or it's absolutely not? And I would like to see it as, can I relate palmed hair to somebody bleaching their skin? Is it the same thing?
You see, I always try so hard not to get into this relaxed hair
Discussion.
discussion.
Just,
But I will say this though. I will say this. Now, I wouldn't really relate it to bleaching. That's such a, it just sounds very But the thing with relaxing the hair though is, what you're doing is you are permanently altering the structure of your hair. Now, the question, can you have relaxed hair and have healthy hair. Now, you will see a lot of posts, a lot of people that, they have relaxed hair and it's still healthy in some way. Healthy in the sense that it is not limp, it is not breaking off, it is not, it's not doing a lot of the things that, typically people with relaxed hair go through. What I have found out though is, particularly here, this part, in Nigeria and maybe this part of the world, the main issue I found was not necessarily the relaxer. It wasn't the relaxer that was necessarily the problem. It was the way, even though of course that has a lot of ingredients that are harmful that go into the body, but I'll come to that discussion. But in terms of the way the hair looked, it wasn't necessarily the relaxer that was the issue. It was the way stylists were applying relaxer to people's hair. Now, when relaxers were created, I believe it was created to straighten the hair to about 65%, to make it straight just about 65%, and then you can use your heat styling tools to then make it, if you wanted it to be straighter than what it is. But then what you have happen is that people will put, you have stylists who are not professionally trained, they would apply relaxers until the hair was 100% bone straight. And the hair will, you see how my shoulders, as in the hair will just be limp like this, as in there'll be no body, no volume, no nothing to the hair. Apart from that, they now have this lip hair that has no body, no life, nothing to it. It is over processed. Then what then happens when people then go in for their, retouching? You now have people, they now apply the relaxer not just to the new growth, they apply relaxer to the hair that has already previously been relaxed, making the hair even weaker and weaker and weaker. So over time, what you then have, people with the hair is too limp, too fine, over processed, it's breaking, and it's chemically damaged, and then that's what happens. So so for me, that's what I say. I found out that a lot of people, it was just because of the wrong application of the relaxer that they were struggling with a lot of breakage and a lot of limp, and not very nice looking hair. Now, of course, we then come to the actual ingredients that you find in the relaxer themselves. And relaxers have been found to cause tumors in the bodies of women, because these things do actually, they permeate into, again, remember, the scalp is just a continuation of the skin on your body. So whatever you're putting in, chances are it's seeping into your system. So, they found that, the body was reacting, and, the relaxers have been linked to tumors that are growing, that grow in women. So it's sort of a, would you like to have relax your hair, up to 65% and still have some bounce to it, and it's not too straight, but you still want to run the risk of these things entering your body and causing a tumor? Do you want that? Or would you just, not go near the relaxer, whether your hair is healthy or not? So I guess that for me, that's always the question. So healthy is really what, are you concerned about what is going on, how it looks, or what is actually, how your hair looks, or what is going on the inside of your body? So I think for me, I'll just leave it at that. I never like to say, oh, you can have healthy hair. It will never be healthy, because it's, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. But I'll just say that, so a lot of these things do go into our body. So in that regard, I definitely would never recommend a relaxer for that. But yes, people would, with relaxed hair, they can do it in such a way that, it's not bone straight and it still has some bounce and some volume to it. I think some people started doing something called texlaxing, where they use a relaxer, but they don't leave it in the hair for too long, so that the hair is not too straight, but it's not too kinky as well. So yeah, people started to do that. But again, it's still putting relaxer on your hair. So
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kemi. I was going to ask you about that Texlaxin or whatever it is that is called. And I also know there's a product in the market that that is not as strong as the relaxer, but you can also use it. I'm trying to remember the name now. It's used to like blow the hair out. I can't remember what the
probably
name
a
is.
texturizer or something.
Yes, that's the name. I was trying to remember the name. So
Thank you.
okay, so it's the same thing as a relaxer, or it's much better? Like it's okay to use that. Is
It's
it
the
okay
same
to use
thing.
extra?
It's just the
Or
same thing. They just,
it's just
a lot of these things for me are just marketing gimmicks. They may tweak one or two things, but essentially it's really just the same thing. I've had well, not a lot, a handful of people who are like, I'm tired, I'm going to texturize my hair, I can't do this anymore. And then they go, they do it, and then they hate the way their hair is, and then they come back 1 year later and they're like, I want to go back natural. So it's really the same thing. You'll be battling with different textures. One hair, one texture will be weaker, one will be more prone to shedding, one will be harder. So yeah, it's yeah. But it's the same thing. I always say it's the same thing.
all right. Thank you, Kemi. For me, I think it still boils down to picking what is healthy for you at the end of the day. But I would also like to ask, does it mean that only natural products is good to manage natural hair? You know how organic products is all around everywhere on Instagram for skincare, right? Does it mean that, so for us to have a very healthy hair, does it mean it's only natural product that we can use, or it's okay to also use formulated products like the ones I got from the store? Or
I
is
mean,
it
when you
just
say
natural
natural,
product?
when you say natural products, what do you mean? Do you mean like literally natural? You're plucking it and you're using it immediately?
Okay, so I mean literally shea butter, coconut oil, and just I know that they are oshedudu for washing it too now.
No, I mean
So
you can
so is it
look. There is. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short, but sorry. Go on. Sorry, do you mind finish? Finish. Sorry, finish your question.
oh, so it's the same. I'm just trying to give you context into my question. Does it,
Okay.
for us to be able to have a healthy natural hair, does it mean that we have to use all natural products? What I mean by natural products is basically organic products like oshedudu. You know, we both know, you and I know that there's nothing called natural product. I just want the audience to know
Okay.
that
I
is
just
it
yeah.
basically organic products that we can use to make our hair healthy.
I just wanted to be clear so I understood what you were saying. Okay, so but first of all, I even want to say, that word organic, it gets thrown around so much that I think people don't even know what organic really means. I don't know, in all honesty, I don't know that there's any truly or fully organic products that you can buy on the market, whether for skin or it's not possible. When you are bottling something and putting it on a shelf, there has to be some sort of, I mean, because there's a formulation that has to go into it, there is some chemical. And when you hear chemical does not always have to connote a negative term. And I think that's something that people really need to, disabuse their minds of. Yeah. Having said that, no, you don't only have to use purely natural products. Now, I mean, there are some really fantastic products on the market. There are products that have been formulated, and they have to go through a process of formulation and breaking down before you can get certain things that are then good to use on your hair, on your skin. Some people, yes, they can use, people will say, but our grandmothers and, they use this, they use that, and that's all fine. But I mean, where the times then and the times now are completely different. We're living our the climate within which we live now is so different in terms of the climate. And so a lot of us, we're in ACs a lot. We're doing a lot of things with our hair. We're out in the sun is different. There's so much. So it's not entirely the same as what's obtained in the past. Even though yes, you can still draw from some of that. So I wouldn't say you only have to use things like aloe vera and black soap and shea butter and oil. All of that alone will not be enough for your hair. You would still need something that would intensely nourish your hair. And what you will find that would really intensely nourish your hair typically will be things that have been formulated, that have gone through a process, and then they've formulated it and put it in a bottle for you to use. And because the formulation process, you need the molecules to be strong and small enough, rather, so they can actually penetrate your hair strand. and actually do the work that they're supposed to do, which is why many people say they use things like eggs. And I'm like, look, it's not going to work because the molecules of eggs are too big to give your hair any lasting, what would I call it now, treatments. You may put it and your hair may feel strong in that minute because it is what is going on the outer part of the hair that you can actually feel, but it hasn't penetrated your hair deep enough to give you the actual treatments that you need. So to answer your question, no, it's not just, just the natural things. You need proper formulated product that have been formulated properly. Of course, you want to look out for things that have now been identified as being what's the word now, as being bad for our health, things like parabens and stuff. You don't want, you don't want products that have all those ingredients that have been found to cause some sort of negative, exactly, health challenges for people. So as long as they don't contain any of those things that can negatively impact your health, then please, by all means, find a product that has been formulated that will give your hair the right amount of nourishment, the right amount of moisture, and you'll be able to manage your hair better.
Thank you so much, Kemi. I'm just smiling here. Like, it sounds like we we need to be doing the same business. Like, we need to be in the same location, trying to talk to our client the same way. Because this looks like the way this looks like the way we say it to people when they come. Like, oh, this product, I will just put turmeric on my skin, and I will just do this, and I will say, oh, just like your body, your skin needs balanced diet, and it's just everything you said right now just sums it up. Just like your body, the hair also needs balanced diet. Something that has all these things that you are using from nature has been formulated. They have been like proven to work, and these people bring them together in a jar, well formulated, to cater for the health of your hair. And then it goes down to you talking about molecules. Immediately I started putting out the questions for this episode, I knew you're coming back, Kemi. I knew we have to have another episode on the air. So I don't want to even go into the science of it because this is our first time of talking about I would rather we just talk about the basic stuff and not like bore our
make it too
audience
scientific
with
no
the
problem.
science, because of course we really want us to talk about the science of it, the science and the science of the cosmetic that we apply on the hair and on the skin. But definitely we're going to get to that. So I would like to go into the skin, the hair type. I know that there are different types of hair. I also know that just like the skin, there are different conditions too, right?
Yeah.
And just like I was talking about dandruff, right? Like someone with dandruff can have it can be more prone to acne condition because of the slow
turnover
level of keratination. Yeah, the slow cell renewal that they are having. It could affect their skin as much as it's affecting their hair. So I just want you to tell us about the different the different hair type and the conditions too. This hair type, can we change our hair type? Can I go from from one hair type to the other? And what are the conditions that you see with the hair, and just general condition, the common ones, and how have you been able to cater for this for your clients?
Okay, so in terms of hair types, essentially, I won't go into curl types or curl pattern because that's a completely different thing. I'll just stick to hair types. So with hair types, you generally have coarse, you have medium, and then you have fine. So coarse just means exactly what it says. The hair is really coarse. You have people that have really, highly dense hair that is very coarse in its texture. Then you have, when you say coarse, as in it's coarse. Coarse just means almost hard.
As in hard, thick.
Like hard, and really thick and very hard to moisturize. Then you have medium textures, which means it's not as coarse as the first hair type. So it's still it's more amenable. It's easier to moisturize. It's not as thick and as prone to frizziness, and as coarse and as hard and thick as the first type. Then you have the fine hair, and fine really means it's thinner in nature. So we have somebody that the strands are very fine. Their hair is not very full, as we like to say. The hair is more scanty. I don't like to use the word scanty, but I think people identify with the word scanty. But so when you hear the word, your strands are fine or your hair is fine. I remember saying to a client once, "Oh, your hair is quite fine." And she was like, "Oh, thank you." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I meant," she thought I was paying her a compliment. Well, I was just trying to explain that her strands were very thin. So people that have thin hair like that, they first of all, they have zero business near relaxers, because the relaxer will just make your hair even thinner and more see-through and more scalpy. And when I say scalpy, it means when you pack your hair, you weave your hair or something to the back, you can see more scalp than you can see more hair. So you have those main textures. And of course, that would inform the sort of products that you want to use. So somebody who has really coarse hair, really thick hair, you would definitely need something you need products that are heavier, because it would really help to make your hair softer. It will be able to really penetrate and ease the coarseness of your hair, make it softer. And then somebody whose hair is fine, you have no business using heavy products. You would need to use products that are thinner in their consistency and in their texture, so that it doesn't weigh your hair down. Because when you have fine hair, you don't want to use anything that's going to make the hair weighed down and limp. You want to use something that would just make your hair look even a bit more fuller than it really is. Now, in terms of conditions, what I have found, particularly, scalp conditions, because a lot of the conditions that, I find presented to me are scalp conditions, and they're generally dry scalp conditions. So the main ones I tend to see are psoriasis, and sometimes seborrheic dermatitis, and then of course you have just regular dry scalp. Sometimes you do have dandruff, where there's itching and then there's flaking. And I know sometimes some people tend to just lump everything under the word dandruff, but not all dry scalp and itchy conditions or flaking conditions are actually dandruff related. So you had said something earlier, which is that there sometimes you may have somebody who's the turnover of the skin cell might be slower for some than others. So you find that their scalp doesn't do as well as those who have a faster turnover. Then you have some whose turnover is so fast, and then that way their scalp is actually scaling. You have more flakes that are coming off their scalp, because just like our skin, there's a renewal of what is going on the scalp every 28 to 30 days or whatever. But so if it's too fast, then it means it's changing very quickly, and then you may be flaking and having lots of scaly-like flakes that are coming off your scalp. But if it is too slow, then it might, that could also be an issue. And then you also have people where they have a lot of oil on their scalp. So for instance, in dandruff, you have like the two types of dandruff. You have the very dry one, and they actually have the what I call the wet one, the sticky one, where there's an overproduction of sebum on the scalp. So it's as in, I don't know if you've ever seen it before, where you may part somebody's hair, and it's not dry and flaky. It's flaky quite alright, but it's not the dry. It's more like a gummy, sticky one. So that's also dandruff, but that is dandruff from an overproduction of oil from the scalp. Psoriasis is more of a general, skin condition, and for some people, it then presents itself on the scalp also, and then it may also start to come down to the beginning of their forehead, just like that, and then that one, it starts to come up in like really thick, heavy, right, as you can literally peel it off. You have like this really thick round flakes that just generally tends to peel off, and then when you peel it off, the bottom, the skin there is a little red, because it has been disturbed, and all of that. Same thing, seborrheic dermatitis, you have more flaky, more itching and flakes that would come off. Now, with a lot of the dry scalp conditions, I generally tend to tell people that have that that have those conditions, that a lot of times, most times, the best thing to do is to manage the condition, because these are they're autoimmune conditions that are coming from within. You need to be able to find what your triggers are. So for some people, stress could be their trigger. For some people, a change in weather conditions could be their trigger. For some people, it could be some sort of diet, some dietary change that is causing, that could be their trigger. So when I say trigger, it means something has happened and then it makes it, you have a flare up and it makes it worse. So when it comes to conditions like that, I have found out that it is better. The first thing you need to do is determine what causes your flare-ups. Is it a certain product? Is it what you're eating? Is it when you're eating a particular type of food? Is it when you are stressed to the max, then your head just, you just get those flare-ups and it gets really bad? Or did you go from, there's sometimes I have maybe clients, they just traveled and they've come from somewhere that was very cold, and they come to Nigeria, and where it's really hot, and then they have this, everything just changes. So once you understand what your trigger is, then you are able to get in front of it and then begin to so that it doesn't get too bad. That's number one. Number two, people that have dry scalp conditions like that, they definitely have to wash their hair more often. So you can't have like thick, heavy flakes that are coming off your scalp, and then you want to do your braids and leave it for 6 weeks. It doesn't work. You need to be able to wash your hair quite regularly, because it is in the washing that would help to cleanse the scalp of whatever it is that is causing the issue. And then you also want to make sure that whatever you're shampooing with has certain ingredients, things that would help to exfoliate the scalp and soothe the scalp. So things that have salicylic acid, that have zinc, that have I forgot the other one. It starts with a P. So these ingredients are really good, because what they will do, they will help to exfoliate your scalp and soothe the scalp and just keep pyrithione. That's what I was trying to remember. That will keep all of this at bay. So that's generally what I tend to, I see what I tend to recommend to people that have dry scalp conditions or dandruff. Sometimes, even with food, if for some people, maybe they're eating too much sugar, eating too much white carbs, refined carbohydrates, and then that starts to present itself in a lot of flaky stuff that is coming off their scalp. Once they begin to eat clean, drink a lot of water, they find that actually begins to clear up whatever is going on their scalp. So those are the main things that I have come to notice.
Well, for context, Kemi, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
For the breakdown. Thank you for the breakdown. So for contrast, I would just like to match it, because I'm really particular about looking at the skin and the hair together, not differently this time, and not aesthetically together, but more of physiology of it. So for someone that has a medium hair now, we can say the person has a combination skin, right? We can relate it to to somebody that has a combination skin type. For someone with because I've been sitting down here and I've been imagining that this is just like oily, dry, and combination skin, right? It's just basically it's just basically the same thing. There's no difference, right? And I'm looking at it like someone with a fine hair, just like people with dry skin, that person's hair will fall off faster in terms of when the person starts aging than someone with a very thick hair, the thicker hair, right? So I've been looking at that. But then, so for people with oily skin now, in respect to the skin, you'll find out that people with oily skin are more prone to acne. They are more prone to rough skin texture, uneven skin tone. They're the people that their skin looks like it's dirty, and then it's just not, it's dull and lackluster. So for these skin conditions that you mentioned, does some of these conditions are related to some of the skin type that you mentioned? Like for the thicker hair people, does it mean that they are the one that are more prone to seborrheic dermatitis, with they are more prone to that, or just about anybody can have seborrheic dermatitis, and just about anybody can have psoriasis on their skin, on their scalp, and just about anybody can have a dry scalp. So, or you can actually do linkage. So people with oily skin, one of the reward for them is that they will age better. You know, they will tend to, they will tend to defy age. Does it work like that with the hair too? Such that, okay, someone with a thicker hair, what is the advantage of it in the long run? Because everything that has a blessing has a cost. With the person.
It's so funny that you are putting it that way. I've never thought of it that way. But I mean, as you have asked me, let me try and connect the dots.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I don't know that, with dry scalp conditions, it is one type of hair that generally tends to, have a certain scalp. I will say this though, those that majority of the people that I have found that have really bad psoriasis have very thick hair. Now that you mention it. So I have found that the majority of people that have really bad psoriasis, they actually do have a lot of hair. And yes, they actually have, they actually do have more in terms of density and thickness. They have more than, the average person would. Now, the advantages that I'm thinking of course, somebody who has really, a lot of hair, if they are taking care of their hair as they get older, because again, sometimes some people take a lot of things for granted. Oh, I have hair, and they treat it anyhow. And then, as time goes on, with hormonal things start to happen as you're getting older, your hair may not be, your hair may not grow in as quick as it used to before. So all that thick hair you thought you had and you could always get away with, you may not be able to get away with it. So you always still need to take care of your hair. But having said that, of course, those with thicker hair, they may have, they have a higher probability of having more hair in their older years than those that started off life with much thinner hair. Which is why, especially if your hair is thin, you want to ensure that you are taking care of it from the inside out in terms of eating a balanced diet and doing all the right things, so that as you get older, because as we get older, the hair growth phase gets shorter. So, compared to maybe when you were in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, your hair, if you cut it, it will just start to grow and you're like, hey, the hair is back. As you get older into your 50s, 60s, 70s, that doesn't happen anymore. So your growth phase starts to shorten and shorten and shorten. So it's always good that, you take care of what you have now. So I guess this would be the advantages that I would see, that, somebody who has really thick hair now, of course, if they take care of this and they do, they don't take it for granted. As they get older, they would have more hair in their later years than their counterparts that have much finer, thinner hair. So I think that's what I would say.
You would say, all right, thank you, Kemi. You were talking about the shorter hair phase as we grow older. Honestly, this topic is looking to me like we can't finish it, and of course we can't. I really need to ask you more. I really need to bring you back on board and home. So, with this short hair phase as we grow older, is there a technology or a scientific advancement that make it possible for us to defy all these things, and then our hair doesn't fall off? Because we can defy aging now, right?
I mean,
Can we defy hair fall off? Is it possible? Are there those things that we can use?
yes. I mean, so so the growth phase, I'll just do a very quick background. So the growth phase is called an anagen phase, where ANAGN is called an anagen phase, and typically it lasts 3 to 5 years on average for each person, which means it's just a cycle, and then you now have a resting stage, and then you have a shading phase. But again, I don't want to get too technical, so I don't confuse anybody. So on average, you have a growth phase of 3 to 5 years, which means that your hair is just constantly growing in those 3 to 5 years. But as we get older, now that 3 to 5 years that's an an average range. For women, there's some nationalities, for instance, the Asians, their own growth phase could be up to 7 years. So again, a lot of these factors, could also be genetically inclined. So all these factors,
Predisposed.
predisposed. Thank you. So all these factors, they come into play. However, as we grow older, because our hormones begin to change as we grow older. I mean, with women, you have menopause, you have a drop in estrogen, and an increase in, what's it called? The word has flown out of my head. Anyway, you have a drop in estrogen. So all of these begin to affect, your hair growth, and then your growth phase begins to get shorter and shorter, which means that instead of, the regular, if you were like a 5-year person, maybe you now be 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever. Now, the question being that, is it possible to defy these things? Yes, there are some things that you can use that can actually help to lengthen your anagen phase, so that if generally you were just like a 3-year growth phase person, you can use certain things that would help to lengthen these phases. And a lot of these, some of the products that have been linked to this are predominantly Ayurvedic products. Now, I'm a huge fan of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is essentially it's like a science that originated from Asia, particularly India. And you find that a lot of, I'm sure if you've seen Indian women, the one thing most of them have in common is their long, healthy hair. And the Ayurvedic medicine that they practice is also, has been said to be a huge part of this. They have fantastic herbs and oils that they use, and then they massage into their hair and to their scalp that helps to stimulate growth and also increase the anagen phase of their hair growth. So yes, there are some things that you could definitely use to help to increase the anagen phase. That way you are sort of cheating nature. And even the nature, you say, okay, your hair has to stop growing, you're like, no, I want to do something to make it grow even longer. And then you can include that into your regimen, and then definitely help to increase your chances of longer, thicker, healthier hair.
Even when you are born, even when you are born with short hair and very fine hair, like you said, these things can improve one's hair, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, the thing with being born with there are some things you cannot change. Of course, there are some things you can. So, for instance, now what will determine one's density or the thickness of one's hair? So everybody, for instance, is born with a certain amount of follicles on their scalp. So for instance, I may have been born with 150,000, and maybe the next person is born with like 200,000 follicles. So if I have, my 150,000 follicles are those tiny, tiny, tiny dots. That's where the hair grows out from. So if I have 150,000 follicles on my hair, I cannot, that is what I have been born with. I can't grow more follicles. All I can do is make sure that the hair that is coming out of those follicles there is healthy, and I'm also retaining the length that is coming. I cannot want to have the kind of thickness that somebody that has 200,000 follicles and has thick, because it's not just the follicle now, it's also the size of the strand that is coming out of the follicle. Now, some people may have very thin strands coming out. Some people may have very thick strands. So imagine if somebody has like 200,000 follicles on their scalp, and then each strand that is coming out is very thick. They're going to have a forest of hair on their head. Then here I am, maybe my own follicles are just 100,000 or 150, and my strand size is not as thick as that person. But I'm like, Kemi, I want my hair to look like that, and you are looking for products. It's not going to happen. That's something people still need to understand about. Not everybody's hair is. You cannot. There's some volume you can increase. You can increase the illusion of volume in your hair by making sure it is healthy, by doing things like henna. Henna treatments tend to make your hair appear fuller and thicker, because henna is sort of like each time you do a henna treatment, it's almost like you are painting a coat. You're doing like a coat of paint on each strand, And the more you do it, the thicker each strand will become because of the coats that you're putting on it. So over time, your hair then begins to gain some volume. But you can't change, the sort of volume that when you see someone that has naturally thick hair, but your hair is thin. But what you can do is improve on what you have. Improve by making sure you are doing the right treatments. You are not manipulating your hair too much. You are not doing styles that are too tight. You are doing treatments that will help to increase the volume and the shine. You are taking care of the ends of your hair, because a lot of people, again, they focus so much on products for the scalp and for the hair, forgetting that for you to see any appreciable length, the hair here should not be breaking at the same rate at which it is growing here. Because if this grows 1 inch, this one breaks 1 inch, grows 1 inch, it will always remain at the same spot. So for you to see any for you to see any appreciable length retention, you need to make sure you are taking care of your end, so that as it's growing here, you're actually seeing it here. And that is where a lot of people, they become discouraged, because everybody wants something to put on the scalp. Hair growth tonic, hair growth oil, hair growth. Everybody is focusing on hair growth, hair growth, hair growth. Are you actually retaining what you are getting here? So it's really just being intentional about what you are doing to the overall hair health, to make sure that your hair is healthy and you are retaining the length. And you will see, yes, and then whatever you're using to increase your anagen phase will work, as long as you are being consistent and you are just doing the least to your hair. That really is it. So I just wanted to say all of that, just to just shed more light on it, because I find that a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want thicker hair, I want longer hair, but they're not really willing to understand, change the mindset and do the work, because it's just consistent, intentional work to make sure that you get the results that you want.
Thank you so much, Kemi.
You're
So
welcome.
this will be my last question for you.
Okay.
I know that the I know that the natural hair movement is the hair health movement is becoming bigger by the year, and I am so grateful for this, for people like you that pioneer that industry courageously for the rest of us, because without you, I had to sit down most of your videos to understand the hair during the lockdown, and if we don't have people like you, I probably will have messed my hair up and the kids up during the
Thank you.
lockdown when we couldn't run anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Emmy.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much. And I mean that with all sense of appreciation to you. Thank you so
Thank
much for all you do.
you.
For all you do. We are grateful. I want
Thank
to
you.
just ask you, what are the basic things that we can do? I, of course, know, and everybody that is listening to us should know that there's a professional care for your skin and for your hair. Like Kemi cannot say all of these things that she has said now, and I will sit down here and still be thinking I can continue to take care of my hair by myself, because you just made me or anybody listening to us realize that it goes beyond us just applying stuff on our hair. We need to understand the type of hair we have and the type of product that will be meeting the need of this hair. Just like we always say, you need to understand the skin you have, not only the skin type, the condition of that skin, the health of that skin pattern, and the products or the routine that will be meeting the need of that hair, not the need of Kemi's hair or Bimbo's hair,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
your own
Yeah.
personalized, unique routine. So just give it to us, Kemi. What can we do at home? Basic stuff that we need to start doing today to see an improvement with our hair health.
So, the first thing you want to do, as you have said, is first of all, you need to understand your own hair. And that really means paying attention to what it is that your hair is saying, because your hair will always be speaking to you. The same way when you wake up, maybe, and you never used to have, you are not really a breakout person. So, let me use my own self as an example when it comes to skin. When I have extensions in my hair, by the end of week 3 into week 4, I start to break out. So I know it's time to remove those extensions, because for whatever reason, maybe they become dirty or they've picked up whatever and they start to touch my face. I start to break out where I never used to break out before. Or maybe I know I need to change my pillowcase. So that is my skin telling me that something is, you need to change something, something is wrong. The same way your hair will tell you, is your hair feeling dry? Is your hair feeling weak? What sort of porosity level does your hair have? Does your hair absorb moisture very easily? Does, when you apply products on your hair, does it just sit on your hair for a long time before it actually penetrates? That would determine the sort of porosity you have, and then that will determine the sort of products you should be using, how you should be deep conditioning your hair, how often you should be clarifying your hair. That way you can then create a regimen that is specific and peculiar to your own hair type and characteristics. So the first thing you need to do is understand what your hair is saying. Then you need to then create a regimen that is peculiar and specific to your hair. And you want to make it as simple as possible. I cannot stress this enough, because when you have a 20-step regimen, you will do it maybe twice. Do you understand? Maybe you do it twice, and by the third time you are tired because there are too many things that you are following. So make it as simple as possible. And I always tell people, these are the pillars. I always say, number one, cleanse. Have something to shampoo your hair with, something that is not too stripping and is moisturizing, because remember, again, natural hair tends to be dry. Cleanse. Next thing you want to do is condition. Make sure you have a deep conditioner. That deep condition, make sure you have one that's either a mixture of moisture and protein, or you have two different types, and then you can alternate them every wash day, because again, remember, you need to balance protein and moisture in your hair. The next thing you want to do, once you have rinsed out your deep conditioner, put in a leave-in. This will help to further enhance the benefits of the deep conditioner you have just done. Follow up with an oil and maybe a cream. If your hair tends to be very dry, you want to layer your product. So use a leave-in, use a cream, and then use an oil. That way your hair will stay moisturized for a longer period. Then protect your hair. What does that mean? So for instance, you see, as I put my hair in this style, because my hair, I just washed my hair today and I put my hair in twists. I'm just going to leave my hair in these twists, because that way I'm protecting it from myself. Instead of waking up every morning and then taking a comb and combing and styling, because the more you are touching, combing, styling, the more you are manipulating, the more breakage you are going to get. So just put it in a style that you can keep in your hair until the next wash day. Then what you want to do, you want to protect your protective style. And what I mean by that is, as you have washed your hair today, you've done all these things. By day 3, your hair may start to get dry. Don't just leave it until your next wash day. Your hair will become too dry and will start to break. So you want to get like a moisturizer, a water-based moisturizer, and or even your leave-in. So every 1 to 3 days, you want to take some of that, put it in your protective style, just sort of press it in, squeeze it in, follow up with a little bit of oil to lock that moisture in, and that way your hair stays hydrated until your next wash day. At night, when you go to bed, cover your head with a satin bonnet, and that would protect your hair from getting dry, because your pillowcase, which is probably cotton, will end up sucking out all the moisture from your hair. So always make sure to use a satin or silk scarf or bonnet, or even a pillowcase when you go to sleep. And then by the next wash day, which should be 2 weeks later or whatever works for you, repeat the process all over again. And you see, so that's literally just about 5 steps. So you want to do that and just make it very simple. But the key to all of this really is consistency and patience. So you want to do that, and then just take your time and do it with loving care, especially if you want to see length retention. But I know that's one thing a lot of people, my hair is not growing, I want my hair to be long. I'm like, well, you have to be patient and you have to be consistent. It's not going to happen overnight, so. And that's it. And I mean, if you really need extra help, if you can't come to me, I do have an ebook, where I've broken down all of these things, where it's called 25 Reasons Why Your Hair is Not Growing and how to address each one of them. So you can access it from the link in my Instagram bio, and you can just it breaks down everything for you. That way you know what to do and how to go about doing it. So
thank you so much, Kemi. I was just going to ask that. What other resources do you have for consumers? Because honestly, I can't say you're not doing enough. You do so much already, but I know that you may have resources that consumers can use on their own with little guidance to be able to do to do more for themselves as regards the health of their hair. And you just said it. Kemi has an ebook that we can all buy and just be able to do better, know better, and do better with our hair. Thank you so much, Kemi. Like I said, I have more burning questions. Like I want to know if the sun also affects the hair, if the sun also have damaging effect on the hair. But as it is, I will have to bring you back for the rest of the questions so that
No problem.
we can break this down further. But for today, I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you for coming. And this has really, really been a blessing to me, particularly, and I'm sure to our audience too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're
having me.
welcome. And we can't wait to have you on the show again.
I can't wait to be back. 1 hour went by so quickly. I had fun doing
I'm
that.
telling you, me too, me too. Like every week we'll just be like, it's 1 hour already, really? But we have more to say. Thank you, Kevin.
You're
See you
welcome.
later. Yeah, bye.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today. It has been an amazing 1 hour with Kemi, and I have written so much. I've learned so much. Like, who knew that there are products that could actually lengthen the hair? I just felt that if you are born with a particular short hair like me, that is how you're just going to live with it. All you can do is to manage it and to make sure that it's healthy. But Kemi just told us today that there are products that can actually make the hair longer. And I am definitely going to ring Kemi after this. Please, if you have the same concern or you have different other concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to Kemi and prioritize your hair health the same way you're doing to your skin health. It is very important. It is the hair that we take care of, or the skin that we take care of now, that is going to give back to us in the future when we need it the most, right? So thank you again for joining, and have a beautiful, beautiful week. Don't forget to prioritize self-care this week. Bye.